Okay, hello. Hi, everyone. I am recording now.
Okay. Well, you're recording. I'm not.
Yeah, I'm recording.
Okay.
Yeah, it's recording now. Okay, it's okay. I'll edit that part out anyways. Um okay. So welcome to the Crow Cove. I have a really awesome friend here, James Kirby, and he's a necromancer and he has some really cool stories, and I just wanted to pick his brain a little bit with some experiences that he has, because I know a lot of people are very interested in necromancy, and it's just nice to be able to talk to somebody who can naturally connect to ghosts and spirits. And I mean, you have a channel that you share some of your stories, and you share your incense blends, and you talk about working with the ancestors, and you're half
Korean.
what's half what?
Korean.
Korean. I saw a couple of your posts, and you were showing how they get possessed and all their spirituality and stuff like that. So I wanted to know a little bit more about that. So yeah. So thank you for doing a video with me. um
Thank you.
I wanted, yeah, can you talk to me a little bit about the Korean ways of how they practice a little bit? Like, what was that ceremony that they were doing in that video that you
Oh,
were showing?
okay. What happens is that I call myself a Miguk Baksu Mudam, and that's in translation an American psychic medium, exorcist, necromancer. It's a it's a blanket term, but
Okay.
Baksu Mudang is male, whereas you as a female would just be called a Mudang.
Okay.
And so basically, you have to learn all these type of rituals. You have to come from a certain lineage. You have to be chosen. But before you can do that, you have to go through a period of spirit possession. And that's what in the video you see the guy, he's being possessed. So basically, anyone who is susceptible to any kind of spirit, god, or demonic possession is actually a shaman, we
Like a
believe.
chosen one. Yeah.
Yeah, you are the chosen one.
Okay.
So, the Catholic Church, when they see someone that's possessed, they try to exorcise it and get it. But that's not how we work. That
Yeah.
person, if they're possessed, that means that they're chosen by a higher power to be a conduit from the spirit
Mm-hmm.
world into here. So I am not actually initiated because I have to go to Korea and I have to pay this money and I have to go through the rituals. I can't do that because I'm an American.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have those resources in America. There might be some in like Los Angeles and New York, but you really have to go to Korea to do that.
Okay.
So how I became a Boxing Mudong is a story that went beyond my birth. My mother, she became friends with a Mudong in Junction City. Junction City is kind of like an enclave here in Kansas for Korean.
Okay.
And so she went up to this lady and said, I need you to put a spell on me to get pregnant. And that's how I became her son.
Okay.
So I was born because of a spell this Mudong put on my mother.
Wow.
About when I was about 2 or 3 years old, we were over at her house, and uh, I was screaming and crying, trying to open up a door, and they were telling me, no, you can't go into that room. You're not ready for it. And I was screaming and crying and I was banging down the door and they were like, no, you're too young for that. And eventually they just gave in to me and we entered into this room and it was completely red with golden statues. And in that room, it was where she did all of her rituals, like her, and I was like, I wasn't I wasn't supposed to know what was in there because I wasn't ready. So I'm assuming that my lineage was attached to her
Mm-hmm.
somehow. So we walked into the room. My mother sat down, and I sat down in her lap, and the lady gave psychic reading to my to me about me to my mother in Korean. I was like 3 years old. I didn't even know about this room. You know, I just felt compelled to go inside because I felt like the gods were talking to me.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my first introduction into.
What was the reading? What did she tell your mom?
It was all in Korean. So she was telling, because they didn't want me to know anything. You know,
Yeah.
when the Asians come to America, they don't teach their children their mother language most of the time because we get a lot of backlash. But I think she basically, from what I can kind of remember, I think she was telling the legacy of my life and what I would become and who I would be uh, throughout my life. So, um, but my mother, she has always had some kind of connection to people with the occult through Korean occultism. But you basically have to be possessed to be able to, and I can get into that later.
Yeah, so you have you gotten possessed? Like you can you get into possession?
Yes, I was possessed at 19. Basically, what happened was um, I was living in Lawrence, Kansas, and I had a drug addiction, a pretty bad drug addiction. I was doing heroin and I OD'd in my apartment at the time because I was living in this old frat house that was built like in the mid 1800s, and it was haunted because I would see all these like ghosts in there and all these shadows.
Mm-hmm.
And so one night I saw this ghost come out of my bathroom, and it kind of looked like a snake. Like it had a snake like body but a human like face.
Okay.
And I had OD'd on heroin and I had left my body.
Mm-hmm.
And I had I know it was a near death experience because I went up to heaven
Mm-hmm.
basically. And I saw my great grandfather and all my deceased relatives. And they were telling, I was like, I want to see God. I don't want to talk to you guys. I want to know who God is, what
Mm-hmm.
God is. So I kind of moved out of the room that they rushed me in, and I started flying up to, it's like kind of like the clouds, but it's more like light.
Okay.
And all I heard was, "You are not ready." And then I got pushed back into my body, and I came up, and I had vomit all over myself, and
Wow.
yeah. So I knew I had died because everything came to a standstill, you know, and I knew I wasn't in my body anymore, you
Mm-hmm.
know, after that. So I don't condone people to go out and do drugs like that, you know, because it's not good. But I'm not the one to say, you know, you do whatever you want to do with your life. You know, I'm not in control of anybody's life, but you know, I'm not one to promote drug use or
Yeah.
anything like
Well, you know, with the drug use, it just it's either like you're young and you start to experiment, which is all good, and then either you have that addictive personality and you want to escape and you like to be like just like with my story. I OD'd twice too. I used heroin. I used to sniff it, but like I never. My friends used to shoot it up, and I've seen some nasty things. And then one thing leads to another, and you're living this lifestyle that just you're like, whoa, what the fuck happened? So it's always better, like I always tell people, like young kids, if they're going to experiment with drugs, there's nothing wrong with smoking weed and drinking. Just stay away from the fucking hard, just stay away from cocaine and heroin. You want to do
that.
some LSD, you want to do some mind altering shit, do that will expand your consciousness. But you touch that hard shit, you're gonna have a fucking shitty fucking life, especially if you like it, because people like it's, you get high, you fucking like it, and then you lose a lot of friends and you almost die, and you know, it's I OD too, but I OD'd on GHB. You know what GHB is? It's like a liquid.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like gone for 24 hours in this guy's room, and I was like blue. My heart was really low, and I think it was I was dying. I don't know what happened, but my boyfriend at the time, he said he just called out to whatever, and all of a sudden I snapped out of it, and my life came back. But you know, um, that shit's so dangerous. I don't remember anything though. That's one thing I'm trying to work on, is trying to see if I can get back to like, where the fuck did I go for that 24 hours? Like, at least you remember. Um, do you think that when you came back that you're now more spiritually gifted too? Like, you know, like when you have a past life, like it opens up a side, like more where, like, you know, you can connect now to these spirits that you saw. Um, so did you see, like, you're one of those people that can see ghosts, and I don't think a lot of people realize, like, I really enjoyed that video when you were talking about when the ghost hunters, like, why are you hunting for ghosts? It's not a good thing to see ghosts, because ghosts actually come around death. And when you see ghosts, it's usually because someone close to you or someone's going to die, right? Is that how you? Yeah.
Yeah, that's how it works.
So did you see ghosts like a lot when you were young, or just like?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It started off when I was pretty young. We had moved into a house. I could never sleep at nighttime. I mean, this started like when I was a kid. It wasn't like I read some book like the Necronomicon
Yeah.
and followed the 12-step program. No, this was like me laying in bed, and these like ghosts were in my room watching me all night long, you know? And it wasn't like I was imagining these things, because like I knew there, when we were living in Junction City, there was like an old lady who had died probably in the house in the 1960s. And then there was some like Russian German guy that had lived in the areas like in the mid 1800s. And they sold the house to my parents at a really cheap price. It was a really nice house. And so one night, my mother, she put me down in the basement because something went on in the basement, and she got scared, and she's like, you gotta sleep in the basement. And I remember like waking up screaming, and like all the doors in, she had a cabinet, a Korean cabinet, and it had doors. It was like a closet, and there's like probably like 6 doors. And then next to me, there was another closet that went underneath the stairs. Well, they all opened up when I woke up. And then when I stopped screaming, they all shut really fast. And so I was like laying there, and I passed out from it. But I got a lot of ghost stories. Yeah, they always come to me. Like, it's not like I'm looking for them. They just know how to find me, you know, and that's the problem. Because I tell people, like I said, don't look for them. They'll look for you. If they think you are open enough, that they'll come and find you, because they have a message for you, or they want to tell you something or see something. Because I had a friend who also died after we both saw the ghost together in his room. And he was living some really crappy, rundown, like, I don't know, it was like a old 1800s house. And we were in his room, and he walked out. And then I started seeing these bright specks of light, like shining in the room. I'm like, what's going on? You know, I was like, and then I felt somebody come into the room, and I looked over, and there was like a ghost, like a man. He was like from the 1800s. He had like one of those long beards down here. He had a bald head. He was a white guy. He had like suspenders, and he came up and he looked straight at me like this. And then he disappeared, and my friend came into the room, and I was like, there's something going on here. And he's like, you saw him too? I was like, yeah, I saw that man. And then I stopped talking to my friend, made us stay out on the balcony for the rest of the night. He was like, we're not staying in here anymore. And then about 2 years later, my friend died after
But
that.
he still lived in that apartment for 2 years, so he must have.
No, he didn't.
Oh,
He left about
oh,
months later.
okay. I was like, oh, he's pretty brave.
Yeah, he didn't stay there. About 6 months later, he moved out.
Okay, why? You know what I don't understand? Like, okay, so some spirits get stuck here on Earth and they haunt and they get in that repetition, I guess it is. How come the gods or how come other entities can't help them move on? Why do they need the living to help them cross over or to do rituals for them? Like, why can't they get help on the other side? Like, why are we helping them? You know?
Because they're scared. They're scared to move on. You know, it's like, okay, I didn't live the perfect life. I did some pretty bad shit, okay? And I know that maybe I hurt a lot of people.
Mm.
And so I die, and then I see all this shit that I did, and I can see that, well, if I try to pass over, what repercussions am I going to face as a result of it? What's going to happen to me once I pass over? You know, it's kind of like the next step. That's why they become earthbound and they start staying with us on the earth, because there's so many attachments. Like if you died of a drug overdose and you like drugs so much, and you're going to seek out other drug addicts to kind of possess them so that you can still feel that drug addiction because you're attached to the earthly plane, you know? But say if I killed a couple of people and then I died, then I know that I can see those people on the other side, but I'm going to have to deal with repercussions afterwards. I don't know, something happened.
So you think the spirits too? So it's interesting you say that because I know, like when I was up for 3 days, I'm doing lines. I started seeing spirits. I would actually start seeing manifestations of them, and it was strange because I enjoyed it. I'm not gonna lie. I liked what I was seeing, but then there were some things that was just so fucked up because it's like they would just do a repetitive movement, and I'm like, what is going on? Like, why is this entity or whatever it was, but it would just keep doing like this repetitive movement, and then there was a I always felt like like a spirit would come in me at times, and like what you just said, it's like spirits start to get attached to you, especially if you're an addict. Then a spirit that wants to experience that would get like attached to you and try to feed that addiction more. Um, when I got clean, I had to cut all of the energetic cords, and because you start to like what's the word I'm trying to say? Like, there's so many things that are on you. Like, I was feeding so many spirits. I know that I was feeding spirits because my personality would always change so differently. There was maybe about 3 or 4 entities that was attached to me because I would feed different people and I would have weird memories. It was strange, but yeah, um, that does happen for sure. Um, what else am I gonna tell you? Oh, what do you think about? Okay, so this is what I wanted to tell you. So my niece, she's 14, okay, and she's very, very spiritual. But she lives as a Jehovah Witness. But she comes over and she knows me and what I do, and she's very, very intrigued with it. So there is this actor on TV that she started watching, and she felt an extreme connection to him. Okay, like really, really strong. He passed away from an overdose. Maybe about 5, 6 months ago. And she started to cry. She said she felt like this. She's never met this guy. He's an actor from Canada, where we're from. And I'm like, well, maybe you knew him in a past life. There must be maybe a soul recognition or something like that. She said this is horrible. Like she just feels like she knows him. So she came down. We've talked about it, and I said, I think maybe you've known him from a past life. You must have, right? So she's like, okay, like, can we make a spirit board? So I made a spirit board for her, and we did it last night, and he came through, and she did all this research before on him to find out more about him. Um, we found out, and she asked him some personal questions to make sure that it was him, and he did it. And he had a funny personality, because she's like, are you okay, are you okay on the other side? And he's like, no. And she's like, oh, why? And then he spelled out joking. Right, so he like had this personality, which he was a really funny guy. And he said, she said, well, how do we know each other? Like, why do I have this strong? Was I your girlfriend? And he said, yes. And we got she was his girlfriend. She died at 18 of an overdose, which makes it, when we did the math, she was incarnated, I think, a year later before he was born, I guess, because she was 18. It worked out somehow because she's 14. It was like 14, 15 years, 16 years ago or something like that, right? And she overdosed, and he, loved her. He struggled with heroin after his whole life. He died last year. And he even told her name was Tara. And then she's like, do you have something you want to say to me? And he's like, he spells out love you. I almost was just crying. I was just crying because it felt, and then he spelled the mother's name, and he said that he's always with her and that they just had that connection. And so, yeah, I don't know, that was a really cool experience. I just felt like I should tell you that.
What's your Chinese zodiac sign?
I'm a rooster.
You're a rooster.
Yeah.
Were you born in 1981?
Yeah.
Okay. Are you what month?
September.
September, so you're a Virgo.
September 18th, 81.
So you're a rooster.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you feel a connection to Bulgaria? Like a European country? Have you ever heard of Bulgaria?
Yeah, no. I feel a connection with Louisiana. Like, I've had dreams recently, a lot of dreams of me being a Black person. Like, I have a Black family, like just a lot of that. I don't have
But
that.
you said that because I asked you one time, I said, do you have any connection to the Caribbean or Latin?
Yeah, yes, yeah. My mom's Trinidadian.
I think you have like ancestors that want to communicate with you through you from that area. I think, yeah, you do have some type of voodoo abilities, I guess, or
Yeah.
East African. I don't know. I don't know if that's true, but I have a feeling that your ancestors are calling from the Caribbean with
Yeah.
you. Yeah. That's what I'm kind of getting.
Mm-hmm.
I get this sense that, because I can see around you, I can see like flames and people doing like African dancing, but it's not in Africa. It just seems like it's in the Americas or something. I don't know.
So yeah, so my mom is from Trinidad, and my grandmother's, their ancestors are from India and Persia.
Were you named after one of your grandmothers or mother? Like, is that name?
No, my dad said that he just liked the name Sonia.
Sonia.
Yeah, Eldoria. Well, now everybody knows. Eldoria is just my witch name that a spirit gave me, but my real name is Sonia. Sure. And that's I always felt like you choose your own name. I always felt like maybe I just chose my name and you tell it to your parents, I don't know.
Well, I just keep my full name is just what I call myself, you know, because my mom gave me a sit down. She's like, you know, that's the best thing your parents could give you is the name that they gave you. So, you know, because I've thought about changing my name.
Well, I have two names because it just but you know, one of my deities gave it to me, so I said, you know what, it's a nice name, and then I googled. I'm like, what does Eldoria even mean? And it means golden, so a golden crow, I guess. And Sonia means ancient wisdom. So,
Well, it comes
yeah,
from the name Sophia,
and
which
Sophia.
is the third. If you if you go into like theology, Sophia is like God's wife. So
Mm-hmm.
she's like the feminine element of God, whereas God is the masculine, and I guess you can say Jesus. But Sophia, she's like God's wife,
Yeah,
basically.
yeah, the Sophia.
I don't know if you believe in that, but
Yeah,
you
I do.
know.
I believe I the divine feminine, the divine masculine, for sure, for sure. Um, so you work with your ancestors a lot, right? How would
Yeah.
you, yeah, how would you if any of my viewers wanted to like start working with their ancestors, how what's the best way for them to start connecting?
Well, for me, I've always been in connection to them. You know, it's kind of like it, in my mother's family, because Western society we don't do ancestral worship,
Mm-hmm.
but in Eastern society it's very rigorous. I mean, you do it up to 3 times a year. You call on your ancestors, you know, and that could be through a Jesus ceremony. It's kind of like a memorial. We celebrate uh, people's deaths more than we do our birthday
Fun.
in Asian society. So what we do is we set up a table, like whatever, with food, wines, and spices and everything they love, and then we call upon them. Well, we take these. They're like calligraphy
Mm-hmm.
uh, paper, and we call upon them. We do the ceremony. It's very complex. I mean, you got to pour, you got to bow, and then we try to summon them to come and partake in the ceremony. Now, this is often done by the eldest male, and what we try to do is we try to bring them back on the day or midnight of the eve of their death. So when they die, like at uh, the 21st, you would go at midnight on the 20th, you
Okay.
know, summon them. So basically, what we do is we summon them the whole entire time. We do all these chants, we do all these bows, and then, you know, we bring them in and then we move out of the room so that they can partake in the meal. It's really
That's really
complex.
nice.
Yeah. It's, I mean, and then after we try to fill their presence in the room, you know, and then after we're done we take the calligraphy paper and we burn it and send their spirit back up. Now if you want to do something like that, you know, it helps just to bastardize it in the American way. Does that make sense? Like to suit how your way is. I mean, you can have like a bottle of beer, cigarettes, and a hamburger and
Like a
fries
picture of them or in their
with a
like favorite
picture of them.
snacks, a
Yeah.
candle, then call them, and then like kind of just leave that there on
Wanna-
the day that they died, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you want to burn incense. You want to, you know, call them. You want to summon them to come and partake in that meal and everything that's there. So that's how, I mean, it's hard to explain how we connect with our ancestors because um, we have to go through a medium too.
Mm-hmm.
That's where the mudang or the Baksu mudang comes in.
Mm-hmm.
They start bringing them down from wherever they come from. They will summon them. So they're the conduit of the
Okay.
person. So the family, like not everyone in your family's psychic, right? Or not everyone can see ghosts, but the person that has those skills, they are bringing them down, you know, and they are relaying messages. They're like being possessed by them. So basically, they would say, you know, your mother says that you need to marry such and such guy, you know, or they'll start giving predictions to you. They'll start
Oh.
premonitions, and then they'll like release them after the ceremony to go back to where they come from. But we also believe it takes 49 days after someone's death to be able to do that, because they're not aware of what's going on at that time. Like after you die, you need to figure out, okay, I'm dead. I'm not part of this physical world. I'm kind of attached, but I'm kind of in. So you got to kind of adjust yourself, you know. It's like being in a new environment. You know, you don't automatically go to heaven. You know, you need that time to make sure you're seeing your family, you're experiencing what they're experiencing, you're understanding what's going on, and whether you can move on to the other side at that point in time.
So
So,
do you believe in a heaven, or do you believe in a place where like you can chill out for a little bit, and then if to come back to Earth and incarnate, or what's your beliefs on that?
well, when reincarnation happens, we are both yin and yang, okay? Uh, our our yang energy, which is like our soul, gets reincarnated, but our yin energy uh, stays. So everything that is like post memory, all the rituals you do, everything your parents taught you, all the memories stay on this earth with your family. So basically, your soul goes on, but the consciousness stays. So whatever you teach your children, how you raised your children, it stays with them in this earthly plane. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I
You
understand.
comprise of two things. You comprise
Okay.
of two energies.
Okay. Yeah, I understand. And then
So if you say if your I don't know if your great grandmother, if she's still alive.
no, she's gone.
Okay. Well, everything she had taught your grandmother and your mother, her consciousness has been passed down still. So
Okay.
when she died, her culture, her traditions,
It
everything
stays
that
in the DNA of of people's DNA suits. Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
so her spirit is her conscious spirit is still with you, whereas her soul has passed on and gone on to something else.
Mm-hmm. Because then you can like, I guess when you call to all of your ancestors, you're gonna call to like all of your DNA from the beginning. That's pretty intense.
Yeah,
So I'm
because
wondering, like, yeah, if you know this when you go when you have some dreams and you're like, fuck this person, like I know this person. Like I've had people visit me, and it's like I know them because I've woken up and I'm like almost in tears because I miss them so much from like another life. So I mean, if we're like, do you don't believe in being incarnated into another body after you believe like
you do, your soul does,
your
but your
soul?
consciousness doesn't. Your consciousness is passed down through your family, but your soul reincarnates. So, okay, the soul is yang, yin
Okay.
and yang,
Yeah, yeah.
okay? Yin is your consciousness, yang is your soul. Your
Okay.
soul, which is yang, passes and reincarnates. Your yin stays with your family's line.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Yes. Okay. Yeah. 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 Okay. That's makes sense. Oh, I wanted to ask you. I saw one of your videos, or it was a comment when you're like that you tried to like you watched a couple's video and you tried to make contact with them because you saw like a apparition in the background and they ignored you, then they ended up breaking up. What 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 did you see? Like what did you see? Like
Well,
just
I told him, I said, you got someone in your home because I could tell the moment they showed a video of their home, I could tell it was a nice home, but it
mhm.
was built from an older home.
Okay.
And I could tell that it was something from the 1700s, like a Puritan had lived in that area and in that home. And I was like, you have someone that looks like the Quaker Oats guy in your home.
Okay.
I said, you need to get rid of him. He needs to pass on. I said, if you don't do that, then it's going to affect your relationship. And they had just bought this new home. They were a couple, and soon after they broke up. And so I don't want to tell you who they are, but
Mhm.
they're pretty well known. That's why I said sometimes these entities or these spirits, they need to pass on because they don't agree with our lifestyles.
So
They don't
how
agree
would
with,
one do that? If let's say somebody says, "Okay, I have," how would somebody get rid of um a spirit, and especially if they don't want to go? What if there's an entity that's really attached to that home? How would you do it?
well, there's exorcism rites. Now, an exorcism isn't based completely on Christianity. We have to understand that exorcisms are different throughout the world.
Mm-hmm.
Even in Africa, where they do exorcisms, it's not like the Christian God they pray to. They pray to the ancestors, they pray to everyone to come in. So you could bring in an exorcist and they will try to pass this spirit on because they're attached. That Quaker Oats guy in that house, he, from what I could tell, he had tortured Native Americans in the house. Okay,
Mm,
so he was a part of some bad stuff, and so he couldn't or he didn't want to leave because he knew the repercussions of that of his actions. And so, after being stuck on earth for 300 years or something like that, it's hard. Yeah, it's hard to pass them on, but you need an exorcist to move them on. And then you need a psychic to cleanse the area for you and yourself. They have to do some type of, I don't know, uh, I don't know if they all do saging nowadays. It's kind of like an
yeah,
American
they
thing,
do, but
but
sometimes saging doesn't work.
yeah.
You'd have
But
to
I'm
call in
not
like a
saying,
really powerful demon that deals with with shades. I call them shades. Um, that's I what I know from my friends is and from like experience, just calling on a strong demon to come in, and there's a lot of death demons and stuff like that that can deal with them. Or there's this one guy. He there was a poltergeist, a really powerful one, in one of his friends' house, and they tried everything, and the spirit wouldn't go, so he opened up channeling with him, and it was a Native American chief or something like that, and he just made an offering. It took simple as I don't know what type of offering that he gave him out in the field, but he gave him an offering, a peace offering, and the activity and everything stopped from
it
that.
can vary. Yeah, the circumstances vary. There's no real blanket uh, methodology involved in that. Like I always say, you cannot contextualize
Hmm.
spirituality. You can't do that because it's ever changing. It's an energy unto itself. So you can't say, well, I read the Bible, I'm going to heaven. You saw my post. It
Yeah.
doesn't work like that all the
No.
time.
No. Um, I'm going to connect. think, where did you put those videos? Was that on Facebook or on your page for the Korean rituals?
They're on
That was,
my Facebook.
that was on your Facebook?
Yeah.
You should, maybe we can make a link for anybody that wants to see them, because it's really cool. I didn't really know that about the Korean, it's good information, and it was kind of cool to watch them do that. So
They
I will
get,
put a link down, and I'll find a video so people can check that out.
I mean, they use blood, they
Mm-hmm.
use the whole thing. It's not something that's often disclosed out into the world. You know, a lot of this is behind closed doors
Mm-hmm.
because you're working with some pretty intense energies. You know, you don't want it to escape into somebody else. So that's what
So
they do.
what's the pantheons for Koreans? Like, what's they must have their deities and their gods, and they have like their dark gods and their light gods, type of the same, all the same thing, right? So do you work with them?
Yeah, well, yeah, I work with my own gods because Buddhism is not like Christianity
No.
or Satanism. I mean, we combine the dark and light together. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, you can go, I would say the hot spot for if you want necromancy and uh real black magic, the hot spot is Thailand for
Mm.
that. And that's where they start using human
Sacrifice.
remains and stuff. Yeah, it's because I've been to. I mean, but it's still a part of Buddhism. They still acknowledge it. I'm not an Anjan. I would
Okay.
love to be an Anjan. I was asked if I wanted to join the Buddhist sect and become a monk, but I just can't because I have health issues.
Mm.
But if were to join the temple, then my path would be along black magic.
Mm-hmm.
So I would be doing the necromancy stuff. I would be working with things like corpse oil, kumatongs, and
See,
the dead.
Buddhists. See, it's funny because people only know one side of Buddhism. They don't know that there are the dark monks. I
Uh,
guess you would call them, right? So
yeah,
that's awesome. That's so interesting.
because each god has a demon to it.
Mm-hmm.
So, like Yamataka, who I do, his is I think it's Manjushri, no, uh, Abolais, Abolais Kavara. So, Abolais Kavara is the light of it, whereas Yamataka is the dark demon.
Mm-hmm.
So, they're both one and the same, but they're just a light and a dark side.
Mm-hmm.
So you can worship Yamataka, who is like the god of death, but Avalok's Kavara is also the god of his opposite of light, of helping people, of
Yeah.
bringing blessings, you know.
And that's the key. That's the key. Like, is working with it, is having the balance of both. When you're just on one spectrum of this, like, I know with me, when I was just only working with darkness, I just became more darkness. But now that I'm working with some light, I feel a little bit more balanced. Like, it's a good balancing, and I'm not so racist with the light beings anymore, because I was really like, I don't want to work with angelics. But now that I'm working with them, and I've taken away what I used to think about them, and I'm using them on my path working, I've had nothing but like good results. So I think that's important, is to work with both.
From my theology studies, I know that angelics are not as good as we think they are
Hmm.
because
They
we
have
are
their own
made.
agendas.
Yeah, we are made in the image of God, but we are fallible.
Hmm.
So they really do not like humans,
Hmm.
for that reason. And they are willing to destroy us as
Hmm.
a result of that because we are fallible. That's
Yeah.
what I learned in theology course.
There's some that like witches, and there's some that understands. They all have their own agendas, and in the end, it's about our evolution and our spiritual evolution, and whatever entities are willing to help us for whatever reason they do. And it's up to you as an individual to figure that out, because there are some spirits that are very misleading and that don't have the best intentions, and they don't like humans. You're right. Even with some demonics, they don't want to work with humans, and humans keep on calling them up. And then, but I think, you figure it out. You find out what ones will work with you and what ones won't work with you. That's how I see it anyways. But yeah, I don't know. Anything else you want to say?
Oh no, I could go on all day, but
well, we can talk again because it's 45 minutes.
Okay.
We can talk again. Yeah, so if anybody wants to follow James, you can follow him on his YouTube. Like I said, he has a bunch of really cool. Oh yeah, you live around a lot of haunted places too, don't you?
Yeah, I can't go into people's houses. Like my friends already know about what I can do. That freaks them out a lot of times. So I can't go into people's houses without telling them, there's something going on here. You need to fix it,
Yeah, but that's cool. Like I mean, I can feel that too. I know when you just know you can, but I don't think I don't have what you have. Like, I've never seen a full-fledged apparition of a ghost. I felt them touch me. Oops. I feel them touching me. I can use my mind's eye, but yeah. You got a crazy gift. Oh my God. Sorry, somebody's trying to call me on my phone and they keep on. Yeah, you got a really awesome gift. But I can see how hard it might be for you, to always have to deal with that, especially if you see one of your friends and you see a ghost around them. You're like, somebody's gonna die. It might be you. Don't know.
Do you know who Amy Allen is?
Sounds very familiar.
Well, she has because I use necromancy as anyone who can communicate, or she has a TV show called The Dead Files, and her and I have similar abilities. It's just that she's rich and famous and I'm not. So.
Who needs it?
She knows I can do it. I've talked to her about it. She knows I can do it.
The thing with you, James, is you're too humble. Like you're too like you don't want it. You're like you're very modest. You don't want the attention. You don't want that. You like to be like, left alone. But yeah, you have gifts. I know that. When I first saw you, when I saw your video, I was like, man, like this guy, like I could just see death around you. Like you just look like death.
I've been told that too. It's
just like the Crypt Keeper. No, I'm just joking. No, you just you could just see it, you could see it. And the way that you talk and the way that you just are and just your videos, you're just I enjoy you. I think you're awesome. And I know you got some awesome talent.
I like your videos too.
Yeah.
They're quite informative.
I want to talk to more people. I'm trying to gear to just to talk to more people like yourself and get as much information as we can out for people, and that's it, and share our stories. I think it's so important that everybody is able to share their stories.
From what I'm getting a message that this is a good thing for you. This is a good path of kind of being like the interviewer, like the Oprah Winfrey of spirituality. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Because I think I do have that gift where people feel comfortable talking to me, because I'm not one of those people that's you know, I'm easy to talk to, and because there's a lot of people that are shy, but then when they talk to me, they feel comfortable. So, you know, I hope I can talk to more people, and we can I don't know. Yeah, that's all I got for now.
All right.
Okay, so thank you. And we will keep in contact, and enjoy your day. Are you going to bed now?
No, I couldn't sleep. I
No?
had weird sleeping, so
Well, that's not good.
yeah, I tried to sleep during the nighttime, and it's just weird. I couldn't sleep really, so it's the
Maybe it's
night.
all the planets aligning up.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
All right, James.
Okay.
Bye. Thanks, everyone. See ya.
Yeah.